Hello, beautiful survivors, warriors, and seekers of truth. My name is Dr. Pierre, and it's truly an honor to be here with you on today. Each of us has carried a story. We've carried a pain, a journey uniquely our own. And today I stand before you to speak to you about a topic I believe is incredibly important. One that often sits in the shadows, bound in silence. But today, I'm here to help us take a hard look at that silence and the conditioning that has long sought to keep us there. Today, we're going to unravel a pattern of silence perpetuated by religious conditioning that urges survivors like us to hold our tongues, to forgive without any real accountability, and to avoid confrontation. But the truth is, liberation begins the moment we start speaking. And so we'll take this hour, about an hour, together to reclaim our voices, one truth at a time. The topic I wanted to dive into is called Conditioned to Stay Silent, breaking free from church indoctrination. Now, I know it might sound bold to say we've been conditioned, and maybe at first it doesn't sit right with you either. And it didn't sit right with me when I heard it or start thinking about it. For so many of us, the church has been a place of hope, a place of peace. But when we scratch beneath the surface, we often uncover patterns and messages that were passed down to us, sometimes without question, sometimes without any fully realizing the weight of their impact on survivors. And sometimes these messages lead us into silence and complicity and silencing those who are harmed for the sake of protecting the institution or protecting the church, or what I sometimes call protecting the system. Together, we're going to explore the grip of this conditioning to help free each other from the silence and create a space for justice, create a space for self-empowerment, and create a space, most importantly, create a space for healing. So let's begin by recognizing the root of this conditioning that has led so many to remain silent. For generations, some teachings within religious spaces have encouraged us to suppress our voices. Whether directly or indirectly, many of us have received a message to keep it quiet. Forgive and don't forget, or to just move on. There is an unspoken hierarchy within these spaces. One that places spiritual leaders above accountability and expects followers to comply unquestionably. Unquestionably. I've lived it myself. And if you're here, maybe you have too. We begin to look at the nature of authority in religious institutions. We often find that the church itself and its leaders are seen as untouchable, almost divine. We're raised to view them as representatives of the divine, as though questioning them would be like questioning God. But there's a danger here, a real undeniable danger. Because when someone is placed in the position of such unquestionable authority, the community around them often follows suit, upholding their power even when it means ignoring wrongdoing. And those of us who have been hurt by these leaders, been hurt by the pastor, the bishop, priest, nuns, we're taught that it is somehow our duty to stay silent, almost to forgive automatically off the bat because of their position. For me, that was a hard reality to confront. The first step in breaking free from this conditioning was to recognize that the silence I'd been asked to keep was not mine to bear. It was put there to protect others, to shield those who had harmed me from the consequences of their actions. Their actions. Realizing this was a powerful awakening. And it might be the first step for you too, to ask yourself, whose silence am I really keeping? Is it mine? Or is it someone else's expectation that I remain silent? Because if it's not my choice, then it's not my burden. Recognizing this truth began to unravel the hold that religious conditioning had upon me. In many of these same spaces, we are also taught that forgiveness is the highest virtue. We're told that we should forgive, because it says in the scripture, 70 times 7. That forgiveness is the pathway to healing. And that holding on to anger only harms us. But here's where it gets a little tricky. When we as survivors are asked to forgive without accountability, without even acknowledging the depth of the harm, we're not being asked to heal. We're being asked to surrender. Surrender our pain. We're being asked to surrender our justice, being asked to surrender our voice. All for the comfort of those who would rather not confront the truth of what actually happened to us. For a long time, I wrestled with this. I asked myself, is forgiveness really healing if it comes at the cost of my own peace? Go ahead, ask yourself. Is forgiveness really healing if it comes at the cost of my own peace? Forgiveness is powerful, yes. But it should never be something we're pressured into for the sake of someone else's comfort. Forgiveness is about reclaiming your peace, not about erasing the impact of what happened. And it certainly isn't about allowing those who harmed us to continue without consequence. We can choose to forgive. We can choose forgiveness, but only when it feels right for us to do it. Only when we are ready, not because someone else says it's necessary. And for me, that was a turning point. Understanding that forgiveness is personal. Your forgiveness is personal. That it is for my own journey. That forgiveness is for my own healing, my own empowerment. It allowed me to reject the very notion that I had to silence my pain just to forgive someone who never acknowledged the harm they've caused. There's also an ideal of endurance that we're taught to hold up as virtue in the church. We're told that suffering is a test of faith. We got to suffer in church. That hardship is somehow divine, and that bearing it without complaint brings us closer to holiness, like it's some kind of badge of honor. This message, while it may offer some comfort in moments of hardship, can also become an unbearable burden when applied to abuse. For me, this message made me feel like I had to carry my pain silently, as if it were some kind of badge of honor. I thought that maybe by enduring, I was showing faith. But in reality, I was only hurting myself. No one should be asked to bear harm as a testament of faith. Faith can be powerful, but it should lift us up, not keep us bound to pain or silence. As survivors, we have a choice to break away from these beliefs that have kept us in dark, bound to someone else's narrative. One of the first steps toward freedom, the very first step towards freedom, was self-awareness. Self-awareness. I had to take a long look at the teachings I'd held as truth and ask myself, do they serve me? Do they empower me? Or do they keep me small, hidden, and silent? I had to confront the question of whose beliefs I was carrying and whether they truly aligned with who I am today. When I recognized that I've been living by rules that were never mine to begin with, I felt a weight lift off my very shoulders. Breaking free from this conditioning also means recognizing our right to justice. We've been taught that God will take care of it. That we should leave it in God's hands. But justice is a fundamental right. Our voices, our stories, our need for accountability, these are not acts of vengeance. They are acts of truth, of self-respect. Seeking justice is about reclaiming the dignity that was taken from us. Reclaiming your very innocence that was taken from you. You don't even know what that innocence was or would have been. We never experienced it. We never got to open that present up. It's about making sure that harm does not go unacknowledged. And if there's one thing I want you to take from this, is that you have the right to justice. Seeking justice is not an act against faith. It is an act, it's an act for yourself, for your own peace. On my journey, I learned to redefine forgiveness on my own terms. Forgiveness for me became about letting go of the power the person had over me, not about excusing their actions. This too was an act of liberation. By redefining forgiveness, I freed myself from the expectations placed on me to forgive without conditions. Forgiveness should come only when and if it serves you. Only when it feels like it is part of your healing, not a demand made by someone else. This freedom, this right to choose what healing looks like for you, is something no one can take away. As I began to embrace my voice, I also realized the importance of a community. When we break free from this conditioning, we often face resistance. We may be labeled divisive, unforgiving, even rebellious. We might be told we are going against the faith, that we are disrupting the unity of the church. But the truth is not divisive. It is liberating. And to stand in our truth, we need others who understand our journey, who understand our pain. Isolation only reinforces the silence. So we must find a community that uplifts us, that reminds us we're not alone. Standing in our truth is a powerful act, and it's also a deviant one. When we share our stories, we redefine ourselves. We say, this is my truth. This is my journey, my voice. And in doing so, we take back the power that was taken from us. For so long, I feared what others would think. Feared the backlash. Feared the isolation. But I realized that my story was mine to tell. That my healing depended on it. Embracing this truth, this right to tell my story in my own words, was like taking back a piece of myself that had been hidden away. So today, I encourage you, brother and sister, to take this journey for yourself. Question the beliefs that hold you back. Embrace justice as your right. Stand in your truth, no matter what anyone else says. And know that you are not alone. There are others like me, like you, who are ready to walk this path together. Thank you for being here with me today, for sharing this time, and for standing in solidarity. Let's continue to support one another, to break the silence, and to embrace our healing and justice. And remember, your voice is your power. And together, We are unstoppable. Keep on keeping on. Peace is possible.